Before there was Super Vehicle Metal Slug, there was In the Hunt. In the Hunt is a 1993 side-scrolling shoot-'em-up that might even put some Toho fans to shame with just how frantic and chaotic it can get. As the player, you take control of a fully equipped battle submarine and are tasked with putting a stop to the Dark Anarchy Society's evil plans for world conquest. With this being an arcade game, and one that isn't too heavy on story outside of a beginning and ending screen, naturally, the story isn't the focus of the game, and neither are characters, with there being literally no characters whatsoever. Seriously, unlike Metal Slug, which has a whole helping of lore and wikis and reference material, outside of the game having some strange environments and some hints as to what is going on here, there is nothing more than what you get in game. It really is just a visual showcase of what is going on while you play, and that is okay, since it's just a 30-minute long arcade game and not some sweeping epic series. No, instead, the game focuses on having complete anarchy on screen, as you must safely guide your ship through all sorts of enemy fire, all while blasting back. Instead of being a vertical shmup, this is instead a horizontal one where you move along with the screen, avoiding bombs, gunfire, and debris of all kinds. Like many other arcade games, you only get one hit outside of your respawn invincibility before you are killed, and it is quite easy to die. Thankfully, you have 3 lives to each continue, but still, it is quite easy to lose them all in a matter of seconds. I'm going to admit, while I have mastered a lot of the stages of Metal Slug, being able to 1cc most of them, it feels like In the Hunt is solely there to entertain you while it eats away at your quarters, or if you're playing this in a Japanese arcade, your much more precious 100 yen coins. Thankfully, I'm playing the Switch Digital Arcade re-release, but you're still going to be hammering away at the coin insert button just so you don't get a game over. Thankfully, while the game definitely does want to eat through your hard-earned saved up cash, it doesn't feel unfair in terms of deaths. More so the fact that you're just going to die a lot. Confusing at first utterance, yes, but when you feel just how fun the game is, you're not going to be as frustrated that you die so much. I can safely assume that there is definitely some strategy to the madness on screen, but there were only a few select moments in the game when I was able to briefly conquer the insanity before returning to seeing my ship be blown apart seconds later. Still, those few select times I was able to successfully navigate certain attack patterns, it definitely felt great. The submarine you control actually has a nice feel and weight to it, never really feeling uncomfortable or wonky to control, even though it's this heavy piece of metal in the water. It went where I wanted it to, and while there were a few times where I just couldn't fit through something to avoid dying, I usually managed to dodge missiles and other things when the on-screen carnage wasn't too hard to read. Speaking of, well, things definitely got cluttered, I would never say it was too messy on screen visually. Someone with a good eye and really good eye-hand coordination could absolutely 1cc this game with some practice, but I can only imagine doing so on the home port and not in a smoke-filled, darkly lit Japanese arcade. The weapons at your disposal were a bit underwhelming, not in the sense of power, but more so in the sense of how progression was handled. Each time you got a power-up, it was never really all that clear which new sub-weapon you would get your hands on, and whenever I did get my hands on a new weapon, I died just about as quickly as it came into my possession. However, your base weapons are fine, with your straightforward torpedoes and your sinking bombs and upward missiles, and I appreciate the extra weapons, especially when I was able to see the effect they had. The coolest one had to be the shotgun-like spread rockets. I also liked the fact that you would have to surface your submarine to use your air machine guns to take out helicopters and aircrafts that might be bombing you. Speaking of the enemies and their designs, the game was chock full of grounded ships and other enemy subs that seemed realistic enough, straight up to mechas and pure nightmare feel. They were all at least quite varied in appearance, each having a different feel to beating them as well, and then there was the bosses. While not as interesting as Metal Slug, save for one of them, they were at least all fun to fight, even if the boss was extremely underwhelming design-wise. In terms of the game's visuals, they were really visually pretty to look at, with crisp pixel art, excellent explosions, and plenty of variety to the environment, even though it all takes place underwater. Seriously, the amount of differences between each level surprised me, as usually these sort of games stick to just caves and facilities. Instead, In the Hunt has quite the variety, with sunken cities that you have to blast your way through, shipyard converted cities, ancient civilizations, and a few other neat locations to make your way through. I really like the pitch dark cave systems that ramped up the spook factor, as the game does remember that the ocean is a scary place. The music and the sound in general was all crisp and clear. Even though there was near constant carnage and explosions in the audio department, the music was still clear as a summer's day, with everything audible so that you could jam out to the excellently composed tunes that are on offer. Each level had a unique track, and literally every song was just phenomenal to listen to. And with all that said, outside of just how insane some of the attack patterns are, and how often you'll be inserting virtual quarters, In the Hunt is definitely a fun time. However, unless you plan on giving it repeat playthroughs like I do, and just love these old arcade games, for the typical price of $8 on the Switch Virtual Store, with rarely ever a sale going on, this might not be for everyone. Although, if this game looks up your alley, and you like replaying short burst arcade games like this, then I absolutely give this a recommendation, and say give it a play, as it is still a heck of a lot of fun. As always, if you want to help support the channel, please consider sharing the video with a friend, or checking out my Patreon linked in the description below. If you have any comments, questions, or recommendations, leave them down below as I read and reply to everything. Until next time, this is Thierry Williamson signing off until the next video. See ya guys!